Thanks for checking out this video. So this is more of like a candid, more rambling type video to, I'm not going to say address this issue that popped up, but just kind of give you a few of my thoughts on it, because I'm not here to try and throw gas on the flames of what's going on, but I am here to just kind of let you know what I've been thinking about, how I've been processing the information that has come out, and just kind of, throw some things out there for discussion in a sense. And I'm never going to step into a situation like this and be like, I'm on this person's side or this person's side, or I think this person's wrong or this person's wrong. But again, I'm just going to tell you, a few things I've been thinking about, and, maybe that will help some people with processing it, because I have seen a lot of people online kind of not knowing how to deal with this. And that was kind of my initial feeling, was like, oh man, because your first feeling, like I'm assuming a lot of people had, which was mine, was, oh man, this sucks. Like, there's something you really like, and then all of a sudden you're getting bad information, or what seems like bad information about that thing that could taint it. Now, you may be a person who just really totally disregards this type of stuff, and that's fine. That's good. I mean, you're probably living a happier life than people like myself who actually like read this stuff and think about this stuff. So that's good on you, honestly. But I see this, and what I'm referring to, for people who don't know, is that John Brennan is leaving The Last Drive-In, and there was an issue that he states that there's an issue that arose having to do with the jamboree that was kind of the last straw for him personally, and he airs a bunch of his grievances with his work with the show, specifically with Joe Bob and Darcy, and his tenure there, and kind of him feeling like he didn't get enough credit for what he was doing, and that he was kind of used and abused in a sense. But I would urge you to actually read it if you are interested in it. It's kind of long. He posted it on Twitter through his personal Twitter account. I'm sure it's showing up other places, people taking it and posting. I know it was in the Joe Bob group on Facebook. I saw it there as well, but I initially read it on Twitter. But so one of my first thoughts on it was what I was just saying, is just like, this really sucks. Like, I don't want to feel conflicted about something I enjoy, because I really enjoyed The Last Drive-In, and there's so many people who have gone into making it such a wonderful show, and there's been such a cool community that's kind of popped up around it, and people being very positive with each other, in person and online. And I think with this whole thing coming up, however you end up falling on it, like if you do take sides, you feel like you want to, or if it does make you want to kind of like step back, or if you're ignoring it, like I think the thing that everyone should be focusing on most is that right now we still have a community. Just because there's some sort of issue going on doesn't mean that the community we have of Mutant Family needs to break up. We're still there, and we can still be there for each other, and we can process this together if we want to. But let me get to kind of some of the things that I've been thinking about. And I was actually having a hard time getting to sleep last night, because I just kept my mind. It's one of those things. My mind just keeps going. I know a lot of people like that. But so the first thing was, John Brennan is leaving for a reason. He states what he states in his statement, and it's a lot of statement things. Sorry. But he, when you see something like that posted online, you have to kind of say, this is this person's perspective. There's another perspective from the other side, and I'm assuming that we'll probably get a statement on that at some point. Maybe not, though. It's perfectly within the rights of Joe Bob and Darcy to not respond to that, basically. But I feel like they probably will, and at that point you can read that, and that will be their side. And then I typically feel like there's the truth somewhere in between that. Is it a situation where one person is saying everything that's totally the truth, and the other person's not? Probably not. There's probably perspective issues going on there. There's probably miscommunication issues going on there. There's probably some issues that are being seen legitimately by one person, and maybe some issues by the other person that are being seen kind of legitimately as well. But the big issue is that it sucks that John Brennan felt like he had to leave. And that kind of points to me that there's something that is going on or has been going on with The Last Drive-In. And, someone like him does not just leave, or anyone doesn't just leave without a reason. And a lot of the times it can just be, I got another opportunity. I wanted to, try my hand at doing something else, but that's not the case. When someone releases a statement like this, it's either to A, get back at people, which he did. He said in the statement that that's not what it's about. He just wanted to raise awareness, basically. And I think to a degree, it's a public thing. So him just not being on The Last Drive-In, people are going to ask questions. People want to know why he left. And I think he probably did not want it to be a situation where people were guessing why, or thinking that he was a bad person for leaving. So that's my that's my feeling on maybe why he did that. Now, I don't know this for sure because I don't know the situation. I didn't know any of this stuff firsthand. I'm just kind of telling you my thoughts on it, basically, like what goes through my head with this stuff. So him just saying that he needs to leave, I understand why. The fact that there was a problem, that he felt that he was not given the credit that he needed, because that's valid. He felt that. You have to admit that if he's saying that that's something he felt that. You can't deny that someone telling you they're feeling something, they're not feeling it. The question would just be why. Why was that the case? What happened? And he lays out why he thinks that was. But for me, I started to think about, at my job, because in the end, this is what this is. John Brennan was doing a job with The Last Drive-In, and it is a business. And that's one of the things we don't really think about, is that it's a show, yes, and it's a lot of fun and super cool, and it's like community creating for people like us. But when you step back from it, you remember, people work at this as a job, even though they do have passion and they have a lot of fun, involved with that, from what I've heard. But it is a job and it is a business at the end of the day, and the business needs to be viable, all that type of stuff. So when I started thinking about it in those terms, and I started thinking about my job and the organization I work for, I started seeing some similarities between what I was seeing John Brennan saying and what I feel at my job personally, which is, I know the people above me aren't bad people. I know that they make decisions because they feel like these are decisions they need to make for the organization, for the viability of the organization, because, so the organization can, have the budget that it needs to make, whatever. But that doesn't mean that because they're doing things that they think is right, it doesn't mean that that doesn't have bad effects on the people working below them. And it's one of those things where it can be a situation where these people just aren't plugged in enough, or they're not paying enough attention to people to know that they're causing these feelings, that they're causing people to feel unappreciated, or they're causing people to feel like they're being used and abused. Because I feel that at my job, and I know probably a lot of people do feel that at their jobs, because people in powerful positions in organizations or in management positions aren't always good at it. You don't get the job necessarily because you're good at it. Sometimes you get the job because you just wanted it, or you did a good job at the lower level, and they're like, oh, you did a good job there. Maybe they could be, it's their turn to be in management, and that doesn't mean that they have the skills to do that. So when you have people like Joe, Bob, and Darcy at the top of this organization, like, do we know that, like, what their business savvy is like? We don't. We have no idea. Do we know what their management style is like? We don't. We have no idea. So the fact that John Brennan was feeling what he was feeling, which he put in his post, just tells me that there were problems there. And maybe there still are problems there. Now, I don't know specifically what those problems would be. You watching this probably don't know either unless you're involved with the show, but things should change. And I think that from what it seemed like, that was a part of why he was posting that, was to say, I think not only this is why I'm stepping away so people understand and people don't cast judgment on me, but this is I think maybe things need to change, like making people aware so maybe things could change. I've thought about something like that too. Like if I leave my organization, like sending out an email saying like, these are the problems and I really hope that they get resolved type thing. Just so people are aware. The other thing is there may have also been a situation where there wasn't enough communication, because that's another problem at my organization in particular, where people on my level at my organization have a tendency to not bring things up when there are problems or when they're feeling terrible about the job or how they're being treated, because they're afraid that they're going, they're just going to be ignored, they're wasting their breath, or B, there's going to be retribution, they're going to have a target painted on their back. And sometimes those are legitimate fears, and sometimes those are fears just based off of the hierarchy of what a business is. So I'm not saying I know which one it is in this instance, but there's, it is possible that there are people working there, and maybe John Brennan, it was the case for him, or maybe he did bring things up, but you need people to bring these things up. If everyone's feeling this way, talk to your coworkers. If everyone's feeling this way, you should at least bring this up and see what you can do. Because sometimes, like I was talking about before, I feel like people in the higher up positions just aren't thinking about certain things because they're just busy day to day with certain tasks, or they just need to be reminded. Like they need to be brought back down to earth and say, hey, I know you're dealing with this stuff up here, but we're dealing with this stuff down here, and we need you to make certain decisions, or we need you to help out. Or support us in essence. So that's kind of all the thoughts I've been through with this whole thing. And I know that's kind of like a whole lot of nothing. I know some people may have clicked on this just to see where my alliance is. And my thought on it is I'm going to continue to watch the show. I'm sad that John Brennan is gone because he had a lot of great contribution to the show. And I hope that it's not a situation where other people end up leaving, but I don't know if that might happen. Maybe. I will be looking for whatever else is released that may be said by Joe Bob and Darcy. But I do want to say my final point here is there is something that I think is really important to talk about that John Brennan put in his post. That he said Joe Bob and Darcy are characters. And that's true. Those are not the people they are necessarily. Are there aspects of themselves in those characters? Potentially, yes, but also potentially no. We don't know that for sure. Now, I have heard a lot of people say, they met them and they were super nice, but here's the thing, like, that's your job. When you're meeting people at a convention, being the characters you're being, you don't want to be mean to them. You don't want to turn them off because you're representing your product at that point. And I'm also not saying that it's all performative, because they could legitimately be very nice to everyone and really feel that with people and really connect with the I was gonna say characters, with the audience members, with their supporters. So I just want to, it's something I think it's worth talking about just to make people cautious, because in this day and age, I see so much specifically on YouTube that is performative, that is people showing themselves as a certain person that they actually are not. And then people start to think that that's who they are, and then they'll start trusting them more. One of the dangers of that being YouTubers who present a very likable version of themselves, but then will start hawking these products that are not good products, or they're predatory, or they're scams, or whatever. That has happened before and does happen. And that's because who they're portraying is not who they actually are. Those are individuals who are just trying to make money. It's all about money to them, and they're presenting a version of themselves that they think people will like and that can then sell that product. And not into that. Like, that's a problem. And I just want people to kind of think about those things, because we should all be very careful about getting too wrapped up into like shows and movies and stuff like that, and thinking that we know these people, because we don't know these people. Celebrities, we don't know these celebrities. We may have an interaction with them at a convention, and good or bad, that doesn't mean if you had a bad experience with them that they're a bad person, because I hear mixed things about some celebrities. And if you have a good experience, that doesn't mean that they're always a good person. Like, people have good days and bad days. And someone may be a great person, someone may be not a not so great person, but humans are very, they live in the gray. You know, seldom is there actually a person who's an all bad person or an all good person. People are complicated. And the situation that is going on seems like it is probably kind of complicated with John Brennan and The Last Drive-In and Joe Bob and Darcy. But it is definitely very important that he pointed out that they are characters. So feeling so close to them, you're feeling close to the characters that do not exist. You're not feeling close to who these people actually are. They may be good people. They may very well be very good people. And I've heard great things about interactions with them. But just be careful about that type of stuff. You know, like, you don't know these people. And especially when they're trying to sell you things or influence you in certain ways, that's dangerous. Um, you know, I know some people are probably hearing what I'm saying and they're just like, duh, I'm not stupid. And that's awesome. But I know there are also some people who probably just haven't thought about this before, because at some point in my life, I wasn't thinking about this. And now I am. But yes, so that was a good point. But anyway, I'm just going to cut it off there. I am totally down to talk about this in the comments. Whether you want to tell me your side of how you're feeling about this, or whatever you think about it, you know, whatever. Go ahead and do it. Or if you just want to talk off topic about some cool horror stuff, I'm down for that. Let's go ahead and do that one. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna do all the plugging stuff like subscribing and all that. I'm not gonna do that just because this is kind of more of a downer video. But thank you for watching this. I do appreciate it. Sucks as this is going on, but hopefully there's some sort of resolution coming. I don't know. Hope for it. Anyway, thanks everyone, and keep it brutal.